Is there anything more disgusting than the pores? Ugh! If you can't afford deodorant, then you shouldn't be allowed outside. If you want to live in society, then act like it! But roasting them for my air-conditioned apartment felt unearned, so I decided to travel from Miami to Austin in the cheapest way possible in order to see how poor people eat, sleep, and breed. First, I needed to get to the airport, so I opened up Uber, and oh look, a cheaper shared option. Can't wait to meet my first deplorable. And fellas, it did not disappoint. As soon as I opened the door, there was a girl with "please don't look at me" vibes. I'm telling you, the body language on this chick, someone hurt her. And it wasn't just her credit score that took a hit. But I wasn't going to add to her trauma mixtape, so I left her alone. That was until we arrived at the airport. I go to help take her luggage out of the trunk when I know she has a designer suitcase. I said, "Damn girl, your bag says YSL, yet you're stuck in rideshare hell." Anyway, one dirty look later and I head into the airport. Now, the cheapest flight I could get was on Southwest. For those who haven't flown Southwest before, they do things a little differently. Instead of picking your seat prior to boarding, you pick it when you board. And if that seems like a bad idea, that's because it is! I like to think I'm a civilized person, but if there's an empty seat next to me, then I'm going full Pop-Tart. Just trying to bite my lower neck like... See, on Spirit Airlines, you're a monster coming in, but Southwest makes you a monster. It starts before you even get on the plane. In the terminal, there are poles with numbers on them associated with your ticket that you're supposed to stand by, but ain't no one checking. So if they're calling Group B, then you're B1. If a passenger asks to see your phone, then start grunting. And if anyone tries to cut you, flare those elbows. Take up as much room as you can. The more unhinged you seem, the less likely someone will confront you. Then as you're boarding the plane, start looking for the hottest woman you can find. Because either one, she'll be into you, which is great, or two, she'll be disgusted by you, which is also great. You're either getting a future blowy or a free armrest. It's a win-win either way. Now, if there's no hotties, then just find a seat with an empty one next to it. From here, you have two options. You can either go the civilized liar route and place your luggage on the seat saying, "My wife's coming," or go full-on animal. I'm talking noises, drool, and erratic movements. You want people to look at you and say, "No. No." On this flight, I leaned heavy into disgust. Anytime someone used an overhead near me, I just picked my nose while making direct eye contact. They try to challenge me and I'm wiping it right on their seat. "Don't test me, Carol. I want my elbow room." Luckily, my strat works and I'm blessed with horizontal freedom. Now, what was the plane like? Trash! Total trash! No USB, no monitor, and like I mentioned earlier, no human decency. Person in front of me kept coughing, not even trying to cover their mouth. You trying to get a seat, I get it, but the doors are closed. So how about you put on a mask before I donkey punch you? Can't cough if you're unconscious, Debbie. Flight attendants weren't helping either. All they did was walk the aisle and spray some disinfectant. Like, at least spray the face. Bad kitty. But instead, the crew decided to ignore the biohazard and move on to the safety briefing. You know, where they asked the dumbest question possible. "Are you able to help out during an emergency?" What kind of emergency? Main door won't open and I gotta activate the fun slide? Then sure. We crash land in the middle of the Atlantic? Then no. You know what's better than helping out your fellow man? Not dying! Only first class seats are now on that life raft, and I'm not waiting in line. Anyway, we begin to get towed onto the runway when I could hear someone getting real nervous. So I said, "Wait, what was that noise?" Panic is the ultimate in-flight entertainment. Then after a bit, we reach cruising altitude and they begin to hand out drinks. Now, most airlines bring a beverage cart down the aisle, but instead Southwest would take your order, then come back with your drink, which wouldn't have bothered me if they weren't holding my cup by the rim. "Oh, you want some orange juice? Well, how about a little Derek with that?" My germs. Fast forward a few hours later and we land in Austin. I hopped in another shared Uber, except this one had a guy in it who was trying his hardest to spit game at me. Now, I'm a flirt, but I'm not a tease. So I say, "Hey man, I feel like you're trying to shoot your shot right now, but just want to let you know that I'm straight." And he replied with the classic, "Well, have you ever tried it?" I said, "Bro, I can't stick a hot dog more than 2 inches in my mouth without gagging. I eat a lot of protein, so my back door is real stinky, and my biggest turnoff is the smell of poop. So no, I haven't tried it." Anyway, 10 awkward minutes later, and we arrive at my hotel, the La Quinta Inn. Immediately, I noticed a fire truck outside, which is always a great sign when you're looking to sleep. Now, before I tell you how trashy the hotel was, do you want to guess how much it was a night? $53. $53 a night! I didn't know there was anything under 100, so I knew it was going to be bad, but like a Kanye interview, it just kept getting worse. So I went inside and was greeted by a lady with neck tattoos. She tells me, "You're lucky, they were about to shut the place down." I said, "What do you mean shut down?" She said there was a small fire a few hours earlier in someone's room, but it's all right now. Anyway, here are your keys and checkout's at 11. Right. So I head up to my room, but there's caution tape outside of it. I'm thinking, did this bitch give me ground zero? So I go back downstairs and Miss Damage says not to worry about it. I said, "This feels like something I should definitely be worried about." She says, "All right, well, if you want, we have a handicap room still available." I said, "All right, I'll take that one." So I go to the Pop-Tart room and the first thing I noticed were toenail clippings in the corner. And they weren't clean cuts either. Bro was chewing. And that pretty much set the tone. Everywhere you looked was another OSHA violation. Bathroom light was melting, paper cups had mold on them, and there was a small Filipino girl under the bed saying, "You didn't see me." It was a disaster. If La Quinta is the Mexican Trump's trying to deport, then fill the bucket with ice. Anyway, the reason I went to Austin was to see comedian Mark Normand. He was performing at the Paramount Theater, which was a short 10-minute walk away. I thought it'd be a great chance to take in the sights, but it turns out the sights were mostly tents, needles, and grown men arguing with pigeons. I spent most of the time playing the game homeless or dead. But once I got past the human suffering, I arrived at the historic Paramount Theater. Now, I don't know when this theater was built, but it was definitely before black people had rights. Every once in a while, you could hear the faint whisper of, "Not your kind." And just like segregation, I felt like a second-class citizen as my seat was all the way at the top. So I headed up to the balcony and immediately got nervous, because the angle of the seats was so steep. There weren't any guardrails either, so if you fell, it'd just be a human water slide to the bottom. Worst part is you'd probably survive. I mean, fully disabled, but alive thanks to Gary and his girlfriend, who definitely didn't want to be there. So I get to my seat, which was tighter than an Asian preteen, except the only one getting violated were my hips. You're not shoulder to shoulder with the people around you, you're interlocking, which honestly added to the whole communal comedy vibe. Made it feel like we're all connected, because we literally were. Anyway, the show was great, but exiting the theater was a nightmare. Huge traffic jam getting out, and we are one fire away from Trample City. All it takes is one person crawling over another for the real trauma to begin. But luckily, I made it out and walked back to my dirty La Quinta. Upon arriving, I noticed 3 police cars outside, and I'm just praying it's something small, like a suicide. There could be a full-on drug bust where they're bashing indoors. It's gonna be hard to sleep through. FBI, open up! But sleep was out of the equation because the fire alarm had a low battery that would randomly... I know it's illegal to take the battery out, but it's also illegal to torture people. So I went to remove it, then paused thinking, wait, what if this triggers it for the entire building? A fire department was already there once. Maybe this is what somebody was doing. Screw it! Fast forward to the morning and I wake up feeling terrible. I don't know if it was the beeping or jet lag or a girl under my bed crying, but I did not sleep well. However, I needed to get the hell out of this dumpster. So I packed myself up and headed downstairs where the dude at the front desk asks if I enjoyed my stay. My response was, beep. Then I headed outside and was about to order another Uber when I noticed someone driving a rickshaw. I thought slave labor was illegal, but apparently not in Austin, so I flagged him down and asked if he could drive me to the airport. He says sure, and I hopped in his shopping cart. Now, I am not exaggerating when I say this is the most dangerous thing I have ever done. The top speed is only 15 miles an hour, yet he decides to go on the f***ing highway. We're just riding the shoulder like it's some sort of Mario Kart shortcut, and there's no seatbelt, so every time we hit a bump, I'm just launched closer to Jesus! Worst part is he's only driving with one hand while vaping with the other. I'm gripping the seat for dear life as this guy's hotboxing the highway. But luckily we made it off the freeway and I could see the airport in the distance. I say to the guy, I don't know they allowed rickshaws at the airport. He says, wait, they don't allow these? I said, I don't know, you're the one pedaling. Then he pulls over and now I gotta negotiate. I have at least a 25-minute walk with luggage. So I say to him, well, I've seen golf carts there before, so I'm sure it's fine. Spoiler alert, totally not fine. Because as soon as we pulled up in front of the gate, security stops him with the most, bro, what are you doing face? So I grab my luggage and dip saying, good luck, buddy. Now with all the side quests complete, I only had one mission left. The final boss of budget travel, Spirit Airlines. I thought the battle would begin in the air, but Spirit hit me with that pre-flight cutscene. A gate area filled with glitchy characters, control-smashing toddlers, and a level 1 mage casting vape clouds. But I beat too many welfare dungeons to let some scrubs end my run, so I equipped my neck pillow, loaded into the cabin, and prepared for turbulence. Is that bitch painting her nails? Is that guy eating a turkey leg? Is that another bitch painting her nails? Who are you trying to impress? Your probation officer? Sorry to tell you, bitch, but nail polish won't hide the smell of generational failure! But my favorite passenger was a guy who had what doctors call squirrel brain. He was playing one of those seizure games like Candy Crush, and you might think that'd be enough stimulus, but not for this guy. No, while still playing the game, he opens up his laptop and starts watching the most mind-numbing, sensory overloading brain rot known to man. Fast and Furious! I just wanted to shake him saying, unplug, unplug! But before I could finish my exorcism, we touched down in Miami, which meant I had officially survived the poverty gauntlet. Now, when I started this video, I had one goal in mind, farm the suffering of others for content. But somewhere between moldy cups and racist ghosts, I felt something I wasn't expecting. Respect. Respect for the Uber girl who didn't let fear trap her at home. Respect for the rickshaw driver who risked a felony for a $20 fare. Respect for Gabriella for holding in a sneeze when I was trying to sleep. Because getting through that kind of chaos day after day isn't pathetic, it's impressive. I mean, these people are literally surviving conditions that would break most of us. Imagine being a rainy day away from, well, guess I'm not eating today. Who needs calories when you're the engine? See, poverty doesn't just drain your wallet, it drains your time, your dignity, and your ability to rest. There's no days off when struggle is your full-time job. So the next time you see someone barely holding it together, just remember, there's still a person. Unless they smell. Then they're an animal that needs to be put down. Shh, it'll all be over soon. One nose pick can get a lot of elbow room. Small sacrifice for a big reward. You know what you want to do. Oh, you want to push that subscribe button. Oh, push the button. Push the button.